Solo leveling is saving anime. Solo leveling has the vibe of an old school anime. An anime where you just kind of close your eyes and turn your brain off a little bit, get to know what's going on, and just enjoy the story. The reason why I've said that solo leveling is saving anime is there's no crazy intricate plot, there's no crazy stuff going on, but I know who the main character is, I know what the idea is. And later on in the series, I figure out what the goal is. We're just having fun, we're just enjoying it. And that's something that I really enjoy, being an anime fan. And running an anime channel, what I'm saying, sometimes you might get a little stuck in the monotony of certain plots and stuff, and everything's so intricate. I mean, obviously we love the death notes in the world and stuff, but still sometimes I just want to sit down, come off of work, and I'm like, yo, let me see Jinwoo beat some niggas asses, and I get to see that every day. And it's a nice blend of Jinwoo is that nigga, like I get to see him turn up, and I also get to see him be like, oh shit, like I'm not strong enough. There was even a scene where he goes to this S-class dungeon and he's fighting this crazy monster and it's beating his ass. Like he's using potions, he's doing everything he can, and he barely beats it. And I'm watching this episode with my friend, and he's like, yo, he paused it, he's like, this is a dungeon, which means this first animal is the weakest thing he'll see. And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, Jinwoo, nigga, get back in the lab. You're not ready, bro. You're not that guy yet, but you will be. And I'm glad that solo leveling, they took the avenue of making it like an MMO RPG, because growing up I played a lot of Maple Story, so shout out y'all if y'all play Maple Story. Like I said, it's the same kind of vibe where I'm like, oh shit, if you ever played against like a big opponent, or if you're in like a big dungeon or fighting a boss, sometimes you get in your ass, but you're like, hold on, I gotta step back and really heal and shit. You could see that in the fights, which is really cool. Also with Jinwoo, one thing that's cool is that even though there's a ranking from S to E, there's also like classes. So there is a stealth class, there's a tanking class. I think Jinwoo was fighting someone, and the guy basically said, even though you're an E tier, if you're a tank class, you can survive some attacks from a stealth B, for instance, So it really depends on what class you are. But Jinwoo's that nigga, like I've said. Jinwoo doesn't really care about classes. He has everything. He has a skill that's about stealth, so he has that. But at the same time, his strength and stamina is pushed out to the max, so he is literally going to be at some point in time the perfect S rank. And we'll see how that nigga looks. So the story of solo leveling starts out with a character named Jinwoo, who is a E-class hunter. So hunters are these class of warriors who are divided by classes, which it goes from E to S rank, and they are responsible for hunting monsters. The whole trick with the hunter system is that once you're awakened, you're stuck with what you're stuck with. So if you're a C-class hunter, you will not evolve. Train for as long as you want on some Zoro type shit. You will stay a C-class hunter. And we learn really quickly that his mom is super sick. We come to find out that she has an eternal sleep disease, so we don't know what's going on with that. And that leads him to going on these crazy dungeons where he's going to be trashed, because as we know, an E-class hunter can't do shit. And he basically getting carried. Like if you ever played Maple Story, shout out my brother if you play Guild Wars 2, any cool MMO RPG or pretty much any game, and you're a trash player, you get carried. And when you get carried, you get a little bit of XP, but that's basically what Jinwoo is. So Jinwoo does all the fighting to get items and basically get money for his mom. And they run into this new dungeon where he gets carried again, and they end up going down to this crazy dungeon where they meet these statues. And at first it's all good and chill until shit hits the fan. So the statues start moving and fucking shit up. And essentially they have 3 rules where it's like, you must worship God, you must bow before God, and you must have no other gods. And all the hunters have to basically survive. And shout out Jinwoo, because that nigga Jinwoo's gotta be smart, because bro basically figures out how to beat the test without any help. Literally everyone is like, yo, what should we do? And people are freaking out. There's one guy that tries to run off, he gets his shit killed. And one guy tries to stand up and he thinks he's all brave and shit, he gets his shit killed. Essentially everyone is dying, and Jinwoo's the only one who's figuring out how to beat the puzzle, because it's 3 tests they have to all pass. And the final test has the 5 or 6 survivors in a situation where they're in this circle, and as long as they stare at the statue gods and stay still for a period of time, they will be good. But niggas start flaking, so a bunch of people start running away, going to basically running off and just trying to escape, and that causes everyone to get cooked. So long story short, Jinwoo has a friend who essentially he promises to take care of, and I think there's some love undertones there and whatnot. They just barely get past the first 2 trials and challenges, but after that I think they're left to like the last 4 to 5 members. Jinwoo's legs destroyed, so he can't walk. The girl, she's basically traumatized. It's just a bunch of shit. Like the main leader, who I think is a C ranked hunter, he lost his arm, and essentially Jinwoo gets his ass kicked and he dies. There's a whole loading screen, like if you ever played any video games, where it's like, do you want to continue? And our boy Jinwoo picks the player route, because he's a real nigga, I'm not gonna lie to you. And it starts the series. Like now Jinwoo gets the power to level up. We see the beginning, he's doing push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, all those things, and he's getting stronger. So we're seeing a character that essentially reawakened in the series. He starts at E class and he's up to about B class where I'm at. And it's interesting because sometimes a character can reawaken where they're started at a certain level. Like for instance, someone might be in E class and they'll awaken to a B class, and that's it. In the series, you don't grow. That is the whole thing. Unless you reawaken, which is only one time, you're stuck at that shit. Jinwoo didn't reawaken to a certain class. He just got the ability to get stronger. It's so funny because I was watching one episode and I came back the next day to watch the next episode. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Why is he so clean? Like, why does he look so much cooler? So that was just funny. Sometimes I think people are overly critical of these anime and whatnot. And funny enough, you could argue I do that too because I have a channel about it. But I think Solo Leveling has a unique display of intrigue, and I think it's a lot of cool things that go on with that. And even as simple as Jinwoo is so far, he's a simple guy where we're getting his pretexts or his inner monologues of how weak he is, and he's like, I think it was a really cool scene, I think it's episode 3 or 4, where he's like, that fear I felt in that day, I'm never going to feel that fear again because that shit tore me up. I'm not going like that, which is some real shit, because at the end of the day, bro, you want to root for the MC, and Jinwoo is a nigga you can root for. He's a character that I'm like, oh shit, like I can see it. And even kind of like everyone loves Reborn and whatnot, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Suna, where it's like you have a character where he's kind of ass and he's kind of locking in and slowly leveling up. It's solo leveling, so he's leveling by himself, and that's really cool. But it's just a great watch in terms of just having fun. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm really intrigued to see how it kind of ends up and how it's going so far. This is the kind of series that I think every anime fan needs to watch. 10, 20 years ago, we had Naruto, Dragon Ball Z. We got to remember that starting when we were younger, those shows weren't as intricate and complex as they were before. Everyone talks about how Dragon Ball is a simple story that is just enticing and captivating. And I think that Solo Leveling has this quality. I don't want people to think I'm glazing it, but I've enjoyed it so far, honestly. For the newer fans who are watching a show and they're just like, I need the series to hit in the first 3 episodes, it has to grab me and stuff, I'm going to recommend Solo Leveling to you guys because I think that this is a show that'll, it's like a time machine a bit, you know, take you back a little bit to remember the good old times and whatnot, at least for me as an older anime fan. But I've enjoyed it. Just looking at Jinwoo as a character, he's been cool. We'll see how things play out because one of the guilds pulled up on him and were like, oh, have you been awakened before? And they concluded he had it, which obviously we know is wrong because the nigga has already leveled up. But maybe it's because they pulled up on him before he started training. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. I wonder how like the solo leveling power system for him works, at least, because we know that he has these little menus that gives him the stats. We see that he's been increasing his strength like crazy. He's been leveling up. To me, solo leveling is like a breath of fresh air, I'd say. But I do wonder how they'll take it. I've seen some clips, well, not really clips, but I've seen pictures of like solo leveling the MC. I know our boy Jinwoo's gonna look tough. Like he's gonna lock the fuck in. I know that. So I guess we're gonna have to see it. And I am curious how long can this last, right? Because some of these older school anime, one of the things that they did were they started with a more boring premise or a more simple premise, and they started to get more advanced and intricate. Like how is Solo Leveling season 2 looking? That's kind of what I'm curious about. But and that's something we got to go through and enjoy. I can honestly say in a weird way, I haven't seen a series like Solo Leveling in a long time. And I don't know if that makes sense or if it doesn't, but I've enjoyed it. And clearly a lot of people have as well because it's pretty much taken over the airways. One of the series that everyone has been talking about how hard it's been and whatnot. So it's a great vibe, even like on stream and stuff. People in my Discord, shout out to Discord, join the Discord if you haven't already. People were talking about, oh, have you seen the new Solo Leveling episode? And that is the old school 2010s era of anime where it's like, you know, the community, and that I think is really important for the state of anime. And I think it's something that kind of underrated because I always talk about, oh, how anime was back in the day and all these things. This is the feeling of anime. This is, to me, the purpose of anime, like to kind of have this vibe. So shout out Solo Leveling because I think it actually does something that I think people aren't giving it the credit for. So I'm liking Solo Leveling so far. I'm like, you know, a couple episodes in and whatnot, so I've enjoyed it for sure. But I definitely want to speak on it because I think that it deserves this conversation, and I might be a little late to the party, but hey man, it is what it is, nigga. It is what it is. But don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. We're, you know, making a bunch of anime content, you know what I'm saying? Any anime for the most part. If you want to see any videos from me, whether it's Reborn, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, hey, you know what I'm saying? Let me know, let a boy know. But I'm out, so peace.